Hello students, we are back in the next part of this video. In our last video, we have talked about the basic introduction of force. Now we will talk about the type of forces. Okay, so there are two type of forces. Make sure you are writing this down in your copy. So there are two type of forces. What should be the question? That how many type of forces are there? So the answer is there are two type of forces. That is number one, contact force. Number two, non-contact forces. Number one, contact force. Number two, non-contact forces. So it is pretty obvious to you that those force which going to be applied by contact or by touching, that is called as contact forces, and those are don't have any kind of contact between two bodies but still applying some force, that is obviously non-contact force. So you can write these two idea about that. So we are going to clarify what kind of forces are contact forces. Now we know that if two bodies come and join together or get collide together, so we know that if two bodies are coming towards each other, then obviously they will collide with each other. That means they are coming into the contact of each other, and by that they are applying the force. If you ask me, then what should be the example for that? Suppose in the cricket a ball is coming towards you and you hit that ball with your bat. Then what will happen? You touch that ball with your bat. That means a contact happened between that ball and that bat. So that means by this contact you are applying some force. So this is also one example for contact force. So there are so many type of contact forces. Number one, that is given in your book, muscular contact force, or you can only say muscular force. What is that? That is the basic thing I just told you about the example of bat and ball. You are hitting something with a bat, that is a contact force, that is also applied by your muscle. You are actually grabbing that ball, you are actually grabbing that bat with your muscle. So this is also a muscular force. Not only that, you kicking a football, that is muscular force, and also you are touching that football with your feet, so it is contact force as well. And you are pushing some car or pulling something, this all are contact force. Even you all know about skateboard, so if you push that skateboard forward, what will happen? It will move further. So while you pushed, that means you came into the contact of that skateboard. So you push that, you applied the force by contact, and it is moving forward. So this all are muscular force and in the category of contact force. If you want to write the example for the muscular force, you can go for the bat and ball example, or you can go for the kicking a football example. I think kicking a football is the better example and very short one for muscular force. So you can use that. Alright, moving to the frictional force, that is most important force. What is a friction? Let me discuss it first. See, whenever a rough surface is there, in that rough surface, if you roll a ball, it will travel very less distance because the rough surface is not allowing the ball to move very further. But if I do the same experiment for a normal smooth surface, this is smooth surface, then what will happen? The ball will roll very easily to it. So what is the difference between them? There is a friction force applied by the contact surface. This is your contact surface with the ball to the ground, also in here. So in that contact surface, the frictional force is working, which is reducing the force, or you can say reducing the motion of that object. Alright. So how the friction force help us in our daily life? See, whatever you are taking with your hand, you are grabbing with your hand, or you are walking, this all is possible due to friction force. Suppose you are walking in a slippery floor. What will happen? You can't walk over there because you will fall down. That means the friction with your the friction between your shoes and your ground is very less. That is why you are falling down. The friction is not enough to grab you, to make you stable over there. But in other case, if you are walking in a rough surface, then you can walk very easily because the surface is providing you enough friction to walk very easily over there. So that is the friction work in our daily life. So how you will write in your exam that what is friction force? So you have to draw a diagram like this. Please draw it in your copy. Or you can't write. Okay, it's okay. I'm not talking about this two. I'm just erasing this two. Just draw the below one. Alright, after completing this one, you can write whatever I am saying as voice note. So whenever a body will tends to move, whenever a body will tends to move, then according to the surface with the contact point. Alright, so right now write it down. When a body will tends to move, TENDS, then in opposite direction, a friction force will work at the contact point of the surface and body. If you missed anything, just skip it or little bit skip this timeline in previous mode and just listen it again. Okay, so this is what you have to express the friction force and finish that word, and this force is known as friction force. So that's it about the friction force. You can give the example by walking in a floor on a floor, so that is also the example for the friction force. So what I told you, this is a contact force. As you can see, you are doing contact with the body to get the friction force. So this is also contact force. Now coming to non-contact forces. What are they? In non-contact forces, you are not allowed to touch the other body, but you can apply the force on it. And how it's gonna happen? Most of you already observed the magnet. How it will work actually? The bar magnet got two poles, that is north pole and south pole. So if you put another magnet in front of it, but in two variation, first one with north and south, second one with south and north. So what will happen? Whenever in the first case we know the same pole oppose each other. So see, you are not even touching all those magnets. I mean, you didn't did any contact between that two magnets, but still they are applying force to each other. So without any contact, as the force is working, it is known as non-contact force. Very pretty obvious. And also for the next one, when you put in this arrangement where S and N, that means north pole and south pole, are in front of each other, that means attraction will happen. And whenever the attraction will happen, also a force is there. But the difference between them, this is attraction force and this is repulsion force. This is the difference. But both are non-contact forces, and that is all about the magnetic force. So there are two type of magnetic forces. Remember that. That is first one attraction force, second one repulsion force, and both are contact forces. Sorry, both are non-contact forces. Also, gravitational force is a non-contact force. How? For that, you have to think it in a bigger way. Suppose this is our Earth and this is apple. You all know that the apple is falling. It is the story is behind that Newton is actually relaxing under the tree and the apple fall in his head. So that pretty much thing is behind it. So the apple is falling to the earth, to the ground of the earth. Why? Because the earth is attracting that apple towards itself. What happened? The earth is attracting that apple towards its center. This is your center, say O of the earth. So towards its center, the body is getting attracted. Just listen carefully. Is there any contact between the earth and the apple? No. In this condition, while the apple is falling, there is no contact between the earth and the apple. But still, earth is attracting that apple towards it. Not even apple, even all the things in the earth is get attracted by the earth's gravitational force, and that is the generation of the weight of any object. More will be mass of any body, more will be the attraction force. So it's all is given over there that the gravitational force can be defined as the universal force, which is the attraction force only. Remember that gravitational force is only the attraction force. Number one, you can write it. Gravitational force is the only attraction force. Second point, if the mass of the body will increase, then the attraction force will also increase. These are the two vital points from where the question can come. Acha. In magnetic force, what I told, you can write it also that in magnetic force there are also in magnetic force there are attraction and as well as repulsion, repulsion, repulsion force also present. So what is the difference between the magnetic force and gravitational force? Gravitational force having only attraction, but magnetic force have both attraction and repulsion. This is the basic difference between them. Alright, and moreover, this all are non-contact forces. You all know that. Also, another is left, that is electrostatic force. What is electrostatic force? Suppose you got 2 point charges. What are they? We already heard about electron, proton and all that. We will learn more about them in the higher studies. So, just think that you have two charges, positive and negative. Then, opposite charges will attract each other. So attraction force is happening, and also see that there is no contact between those charges, but still they are attracting. So that is non-contact attracting force between the opposite charges. You can write like this: non-contact attracting force will happen between two opposite charges. That is the first one. Second one, non-contact repulsive force will happen between the same charges. If you miss my voice, just keep the video a little bit previous and you can get this one. Okay, so this is all because of the electricity and charges. That is why it is known as electrostatic force. So we just learned about three forces in non-contact, and three forces are very vital. Most of the questions are come from electrostatic, gravitational, magnetic force, and in contact force only friction force. These are the very vital forces. You have to study these forces very well, and don't forget to write whatever I said as the important one for these forces. Alright.